I am used to seeing my son every day. I basically pick him up after school like every day, so I'm super used to seeing him almost all the time. But here recently, he had a night where he was going over to a friend's house, or he was staying at his mother's friends, and him and a friend were going to stay there. But as a result, there was a period of days, I think it was about 4 days, that I actually didn't see him, which is very rare. I normally at least have like the opportunity to make him like one meal a day, which really ends up being like turns out to like be a plate of snacks, because I'm just basically there's been like so many times where I've, served him food and he just doesn't eat it. And so, for instance, in order for me to like go into the kitchen and make food, prepare it, serve it, fight with him about wanting to eat it, and then, store it, eventually throw it away, then do the dishes. That's just pure insanity. So I've ultimately just come to a point where at least once a day I put like a snack plate together of all things that like he sort of enjoys. And like, just as an example, like today it had like bananas on it and carrots and applesauce. And I always be sure to like load it up with vitamins. So like, for instance, every day, and I don't, care how this sounds, but like he gets B12, D3. Even recently I've been giving him fish oil. He has this one where it's got zinc and echinacea, and I even give him quercetin, and there's a number of vitamins that he takes. So he's very used to just taking vitamins. He's on a vitamin regimen here, and like I said, he's consistently at least eating fruits and vegetables, natural foods, and like applesauces and things like that, which have, of course, fruit concentrate, but it's probably better than some of the things that he could be eating. So he's not here for like 4 days, is really the only point I was trying to get to. And he comes back to me and he's got a sore on his face, which you're like, dude, you have a sore on your face right now, motherfucker. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how you're going to not address that. But no, yeah, I have this like herpes sore thing on my face, which is super tight. It makes me look awesome. Actually, I have like super, I've told you before, I have lots of zits. It's really, really cool. It's good for me, right? He comes back with a sore on his face. He's got a bruise on his arm. And it's like, okay, when he's nervous, he chews on his sleeve. So like as I'm doing his laundry, right, when he gets here, his sleeve was super wet. So like, for instance, I noticed his sleeve was soaked. So I'm like, all right, yeah, he's been chewing on his sleeve. So likely the sore on his face is just because he's got this wet sleeve on his on his face, like all day long. And then it makes this red dot. So I was like, okay, we can put ointment on that. That's going to go away. The bruise on his arm, he said, was the night that he stayed with his friend and they were fighting over something. I don't even remember what it was anymore. I want to say it was like a TV show or something like that, but they're sitting here fighting over a TV show or something like that. So he's got a big old bruise on his arm. And again, he doesn't just bruise easily. So it's like, I say again, because I said that episodes ago, but nobody knows that. And he comes back with a cough and a cold. So I'm just like, okay, obviously you haven't... He even says, like, as he's got his cold, like, he's like, yeah, 2 nights ago we had McDonald's. I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm thinking? I'm like, you already know what I'm thinking. I'm like, that's exactly what your body needs. I was like, as you're sitting here having a cough and a cold, probably the best medicine for you is giving yourself McDonald's. I was like, no, literally you have like an army inside your body. I was like, dude, you have an army that's trying to fight off all the things that are coming at you. So any disease or any sickness or anything that's coming your way, there's an army in you that's trying to work against it. You're asking them to fight as hard as they possibly can, and then you're shooting them up every day with poison. I'm like, every day you just keep giving them all poison. You're like, here, have Mike and Ike's and chips. And I was like, it's not that you can't eat Mike and Ike's and chips. It's like everybody does that. I was like, you just have to like, maybe today you have some Mike and Ike's and chips, and maybe tomorrow you have your bananas and your carrots and your applesauce and natural foods that you normally eat that is better for you with vitamins and all these things. I was like, or maybe you just have like a little bit of it here and then go a few days where you eat it, or, just trying to give them ideas. Cause I'm like, obviously if you're sitting here having a cold and you come back with a cough, I don't think the best medicine is McDonald's, but that's just my opinion. And so anyway, point being, I had no intention of talking about that. It's just, of course it's on my mind. It's one of those things that it's like, how could I not think about that? It's just that if you think about like, for he goes this like really, really long streak where he doesn't have any issues. And then all of a sudden, for instance, he's got, he comes back with a sickness and sores on his face and a bruise. And it's just like, you feel like if he could just be I don't know. I know I have to let go at some point, I have to let go of control. And I know it's not like I shouldn't have the amount of control that I still do, I guess, like, I don't know, he's 7 and I still pick out his outfits. And I know there's lots of people that don't do that. And so it's like, for instance, I guess I still step over a little too far, and I don't mean to be like an over, helicopter parent or whatever it is. But my thought is just like, if he can go all these days where he's at least eating fruits and vegetables and eating vitamins, and then he comes back where he's just been eating fast food and he gets sick and he's got bruises and sores on him, I'm just like, man, I think that maybe my overprotectiveness or whatever it is, maybe at least it benefits us in the result of good health for you. And it's like, he's healing up fast. Kids are good. I just try to tell him, at least you just got to give this every once in a while. This army needs like good food. You have to send them good supplies. You have to like let them know that they've got something good on the way. It's like, it's not that you can't do that. Everybody does it. We all do it. It's just you got to at least mix it up every once in a while, with some healthy stuff. And so, I don't know. I think it's probably not that big of a deal. The other day I had this, I think it was actually yesterday, there was this girl in front of me at Sam's, right? And it was actually weird, like while I was in the store, a little bit before that, like I was going down the aisle and either I was going to hit her or I was going to crash into everything. And so I chose to crash into everything. And most people were probably like, dude, you just weren't paying attention. You were going to crash into all the shit. And so you have to have some stupid man excuse for it. It's like, no, really. I had, she was coming my way and I was like, it almost felt like weird. It was like, I think that lady's going to crash into me. And I was like, okay, well, I can try to walk a little bit faster and get through it before she hits my cart. I was like, otherwise I'm going to hit this stuff. So like I hit the stuff and I didn't get through there fast enough, but I was just like, oops. And I just was like trying to act like it wasn't a big deal. Well, then later I'm standing behind this lady in line and we're going through the self-checkout, right? And originally I kind of think that the lady that's working the self-checkout, it's like they have a lot of registers that they have to look out, but I kind of think that lady's like really overstepping her boundaries. Like this gal is she's Latino, right? And then the woman is a European, she's a white woman. there's an old white woman working. I don't know, I don't know why I said European, because I guess that's what no, I don't know if that's what you're supposed to say. I was getting ready to rub my nose because I don't know if that's what you're supposed to say. Okay, so there's this old white woman, and she is like unscanning things that this Latino lady is scanning and rescanning them. And so like I originally got behind this Latino lady because she's got like 8 things in her cart, right? So I'm like, everybody, instead of just like standing at the base where like once one register opens up, the next person goes to the next available register, everybody has lined up behind registers. So I particularly picked this register that this lady has 8 things, because I'm like, okay, she has 8 things. That's perfect. She's going to rock those out real quick. No big deal. Well, then this old white woman keeps coming up and she's like unscanning things and rescanning things. And she keeps I'm like, my thought in my head is like, one, I'm going to tell her, if you touch my stuff, but then I'm like, dude, no, you know, don't do this. You know what I mean? Like nothing has happened. I'm standing in line. I'm waiting. I'm just having this conversation with myself in my head. I'm like, all right, dude, you're not going to say anything. And I was just thinking like I can bag my own groceries, lady, like what terrible thing am I going to say? Like what am I going to do that I totally just should not be saying? And so I'm like, you can do it, man. You've been through this before. You're not going to say anything. It's no big deal. She can help you all she wants. You just be polite. Like just let her know you're good. You know how to bag the groceries. And so anyway, it's taken a long time. It's taken a really long time. And I'm just like, I think if that older white woman wasn't helping that Latino lady, she would be getting it a lot better. Well, after a while, the older white woman walks away because like basically she's like, unscan this, rescan this. And so after further examination, I think with the Latino lady, and this is all just what I saw. It doesn't matter. This is what I saw. The Latino lady, it almost seemed like maybe was scanning like the bananas more times than she needed to, which is like a dollar item thing, and then not scanning some of the other items. So for instance, this is just my speculation from being there for so long and watching what was happening and watching what the cashier was undoing, the lady that was attending the self-checkout that was undoing. it seemed like she was scanning some of the lower dollar items a lot more, almost as if like to have the proper amount. And then so like at first I'm like, okay, she's just not from, she like I said, she's Latino. She probably just doesn't speak. She has no idea what this machine is. She's probably never done this before. I'm like, just give her the benefit of the doubt. There's no way she means to do any of this. She has very few things. It's literally like a couple things of bananas, a couple things of pineapples, and some cream cheese, you know, like almost nothing. Like it literally, her whole order came out to like $46. But the lady is I think I'm like, it beeps, right? So she puts her card in and it beeps. And like normally when I'm up there and my card is in and it beeps, it's telling me to remove my card because it's been approved, and I take my card out and I put it away. Well, then she puts another card in and it beeps. And I'm like, how many times is she going to pay? Like how many times has she paid? I was like, she can't be able to read that, because I'm like, okay, this could make sense. This makes sense as to why she didn't use the machine right. She probably can't even read what's going on there. And I'm who knows? My only thing to say that is she's Latino. She only has a very few items, and it's becoming a very big issue. And the cashier, the attendant there at the self-checkout has helped her a lot of times. So then the attendant's gone, and the lady is sitting there just putting the cards in over and over again. So finally I find she gets on her phone and walks away, which I think is kind of the thing, like, okay, I don't have money. Now here's where I think something totally different happens, right? And you just got to tell me what you think it is. And I'm probably a lunatic, and I'm probably it's that S word. I always skeptical. I think it's skeptical. I'm probably just being skeptical, and it's probably totally not what I think it is, right? But what if one earlier in the time, like she was trying to intentionally hit me with her cart? Like what if this gal that is really struggling with the register was trying to intentionally hit me with her cart, right? And then what if she was struggling to pay for these because she also wants me to pay for her groceries? Because I mean, I'm not trying to be crazy, but it seems like the right move in this situation, right? It seems like the right move in this situation. The person in front of you has $46 worth of groceries. They get on their phone. They're walking away from the register. The indication is I've put in multiple cards. I can't pay for my very low amount of groceries. And I think that the responsibility or the obligation of the person, it almost seemed like, and this is why I'm saying, like, you guys tell me what you think. It seemed like the obligation was like, can you pay for me? Like, are you going to help me with my groceries? And I know that sounds fucking crazy, but it almost seemed like, because one, why did she, or maybe it's all just a coincidence. Maybe it's all just a coincidence, but it seemed like maybe she was like running into me on purpose. And then like, again, she can't pay for her groceries. And then like, it almost seems like again, the right thing to do is pay. So I was first waiting for the attendant, but that lady's busy because nobody seems to know how to use these things or something like that. Everybody can't figure out the self-checkout. So like, she's super busy. So I saw there's an X in the top corner, like just like any Windows computer app that you've probably ever used, there's an X in the top corner, right? So I just hit the X. It says cancel transaction. I'm like, yes, cancel transaction. So then I started bagging my groceries. But again, my thought is like, it seems like the right thing to do. And maybe anybody's like, dude, you should have just paid the $50. But it's like, dude, there was not things in my cart that I wanted. You know what I mean? I could have easily put $50 more worth of things in my cart that I held back on to try to keep a budget as I was in the grocery store. So I get that that's like, it seems like that's the right thing to do. But my honest thought is I feel like I was like targeted in a way, like almost like targeted, and people are like, you're a fucking lunatic. And that's why I'm saying, like, tell me what you think. Like, do you think this lady was just down on her luck, tried to pay for her $46 worth of groceries, maybe was trying to scan some of the lower dollar items a little more than she should have? Because basically then you could maybe make the right amount of scans, but you're only, say, scanning a $1 item 7 times, or you know, one of the $1 or $2 items 7 times, rather than all of the actual items that you had. So then you're making the right amount of scans. It seems like everything, but again, that lady was like looking over her shoulder and changing everything that she was doing, so she couldn't really do that. But then the cards don't work, so it's like, Was it real? Was it real that she just was struck? She was maybe going to try to get away with not paying for all the groceries in the self checkout, but the cashier lady was right on her, and then she just wasn't able to pay. And after she put all the different cards in, she was just not able to pay. Or I don't know. That's why I was like, you know what I mean? Almost as if like if I ran into her cart before or something, like I owed her something, and then it's like then she's in front of me and it's like almost like I was targeted. You're like, dude, you're a fucking lunatic. There's no way that lady just struggled to pay for her groceries. But I don't know. I just have these crazy thoughts. It's probably this crazy theory that I'm telling myself because I didn't pay for her $50 worth of groceries. Because in truth, I saw somebody that struggled to pay for their $50 worth of groceries, and I didn't just say, I'll pay for that. But dude, it's like, what if she, this is my terrible thought. I'll just be honest. What if she does that? What if somebody outside was like, yeah, dude in the black shirt, there's a dude in a black shirt in there. So one, that's why she crashes or tries to crash her card into me at first. And then two, that's how she's in front of me at line. Cause like, it's a mad chaos up at this cart area. So she could have ended up in front of anybody, but she was a little hesitant and then jumped right in front of me. You know what I mean? But again, there's lots of people, everybody kind of waiting for the line, and then everybody goes in front of a register. So it could have worked out anyway, but I don't know. I guess that's just, again, probably what I'm telling myself because I didn't pay for $50 worth of groceries. But what would you have done? Would you pay for the $50 worth of groceries? Would you have just let her, you know what I mean, say, hey, yeah, I got you. I'm going to pay for your very few items and help you get out of here. Or maybe she just really had no idea what was going on. You know what I mean? Like maybe she couldn't read any of it. Like I only say that because she struggled so much with the machine, and then the ladies there helping her. And so I don't know, but dude, there was this other crazy lady that I met. So right before I went to the store, I ran to the store as I was getting off work, right? So that day, I met with this lady, and as I'm pulling into this house, they have a fence that's halfway up. So between their fence posts that are not, the fence is not complete, they have a 4x8 piece of wood. So just a normal piece of plywood you would normally call it. We call it OSB typically when we're doing roofing. You take this like normal 4x8 piece of wood and they put it between the fence posts. And between those fence posts is orange spray paint. And in between that orange spray paint, it says, do not use this company. They suck. So this is the house that I'm pulling up at. So already, am I crazy to be a little bit concerned about the people I'm working with? Okay, because my theory, and I could be wrong, but it seems like they have these fence posts put in. They're dissatisfied with the way the fence posts are put in. The fence didn't get finished. They got in a fight with this company, and they're literally posting right in front of their house, and it just says they suck in spray paint on this big thing. Do not use this company. They suck. So this is what I'm walking into, and I'm just like, how am I not supposed to be concerned? Like, would you not take that down if you were inviting somebody over? Would you not just remove that? If you were getting ready to invite a contractor over to your house to do a bid for you, would you not remove the sign that you have in front of your home that you've created out of fluorescent orange spray paint on your non-built fence that says do not, and then it was just really weird because like the lady was saying things like, well, I thought all metal buildings came with insulation. And I looked over and she has 5 metal buildings on her property. And I was like, did these metal buildings have insulation? And she was like, no. I was like, but you thought all metal buildings came with insulation? I'm like, I don't understand. Like, almost just like it's just so weird because I've already kind of verbally quoted her some prices. And so now she's trying to state that like there's certain things are in there. And I was just like, I haven't even given you a bid yet. Like, how am I not supposed to take these as the most blatant red flags that I'm supposed to respond to? Like, I guess when I called them on the phone, she had said this one guy, the other contractor that came over, won't stop bugging me, so we're not going to work with him, which I get. You can be scared. If somebody's so eager, you're just like, geez, Louise, why are you so darn desperate? Which it's, if you guys were in our sales meetings, you'd understand that our bosses are telling us to, chase it down. But I agree. I can understand because I'm that same way. Like if you've ever looked for a house or anything like that or put in for, whatever. The amount of people that you have contact you is just completely insane. So I can totally get where these people are like annoyed with it after a while. And if you've reviewed multiple bids, you've contacted multiple contractors, you're completely tired of it at that point. But I mean, what am I supposed to, I just gave him a normal bid, but it was like, it just seemed like, again, she was trying to like get me to say or say that I said things that were included, but I'm just like, you literally have 5 buildings right behind you and none of them apply to that. And she's like, well, those are outbuildings and this is a home. And I'm like, okay, I understand. And I just told her the code and how the code applies to the home and why it's different in the situation that she was mentioning. But I don't know. I just wonder if what you guys would have done in that situation. Would you have just been like, yeah, I'm sure that's no big deal. I'm not going to end up like that other company that they're displaying on their front lawn, which, I mean, again, if you were the homeowner, wouldn't you just remove before you invited me over? I don't know. It's all good. I just think that, I don't know. Those are a couple crazy things that I ran into yesterday. Another thing that I've noticed, which is really funny, like I was talking about how I give like Breck snacks and stuff. He almost never eats food, right? But like one thing that I can do, if I was like, he basically, if I feed him macaroni and cheese or whatever it is, he almost never eats it. Like he's just very, very unlikely to eat it. So one thing that I've always tried to do though is I don't know if you've watched like the Food Network, but right before they serve a dish, especially if they've been stirring the dish, they'll like wipe the outside of the dish almost as if to like take off, say you had like spaghetti and you're stirring the spaghetti in a bowl. There's going to be some sauce on the outside of the bowl. So right before you serve it, you wipe the outside of the bowl. And I've always done that for him, and I swear it helps. It's like one of those things where you're like, everybody, even at the youngest age, I think they really do eat with their eyes first. It's one of those silly things that you hear on like the Food Network, but I really do think a lot of people, they eat with their eyes first. And if you can present something well, I started shaking my head because like I think about the hotel business, and I remember there were so many people that like, for instance, had to double. What they really were doing is like a front desk position, but then they had to like double and make sandwiches or make, wraps and things like that. And they would just put them together in the trashiest, most disgusting way. And I would just be like, dude, like check this out, cut it diagonally and then serve them like this. You know what I mean? Like, and it looks so much better. And it's just like, my point in saying that is, even at the youngest age, presentation seemed to matter with my son. So like I always had better odds if I was going to get him to eat something if I actually properly presented it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I can cut something on a plate and then leave all that juice and everything down there and just expect, because any human, I just think they really do eat with their eyes first. And it's one of those crazy things that you're like, I don't know. I'd be curious to see if you presented things better, if people eat more of your food, or if you're just like, no, it's the same. I could present it in the most beautiful way and they would just chomp it down, or I could present it disgusting and they would chomp it down, or, the opposite. But I don't know. It seems like that's one of the things that at least helps. What's one thing that I hate? I shouldn't say that I hate it. It's like I always hear it in like one of those Minnesotan / Canadian accents. It seems like it's like, sure. Like I don't know why, and I have heard it so much from so many people that I've even accidentally said it recently. And it's one of those things that, like, again, I shouldn't say I hate it. I just really despise it because it's not enough for me. It just seems like I need more. Like if I'm talking to you and all you say is like, sure. And again, I always hear it in like some like Minnesotan type accent, but I hear it in like, oh, sure. Like, oh, you sure? Yeah. And it just seems like so many people, it's like their response. And I think it's probably like one of those ways where you're trying to acknowledge that you hear what they're saying, that you acknowledge that the other person is speaking and you just want to allow them to continue. But for some reason, it doesn't feel like you've got it to me. And I don't know why I need that. I don't know why when you talk, I need to like know that you are actually understanding what I'm saying. But it almost seems like why am I speaking? Why am I even talking? Like when I can tell that my son hears me like a Charlie Brown character, I literally just like, I'm like, I almost stop talking. I'm just like, he's not listening to me. I can tell he's totally tuned out. I can tell he can't hear anything that I'm saying right now. I'm like, I should probably just stop talking. So I don't know. That's my thought. It almost seems like when I hear sure, people are just saying, you know, they don't give a fuck almost, which is like probably has more to do with me. Probably says more about me than it has to say about them. But I just like for sure. I can do for sure. For sure is solid. For sure, I get for sure, right? Because you know for sure is good, but sure. There was a girl there's I mean, so there's been nights that like there was a particular girl that I remember she would say sure, and what do you say? Is it because I would give her a hard time because it sounds like that's like Sally sells seashells down by the sea, sure. I think it's like sure, isn't it? Like sure. And again, I normally when I hear it, because I just like it so much, I hear it in like a Canadian accent, but what do? You say sure, or do you say sure? I know we really hit on the hard stuff here, but I think it's more sure. I think it's supposed to be sure, but I'd just be curious. I don't think it's enough. For some reason I just need. I could say there's been nights that a girl told me sure, and it still ended okay. But you know, I think in the most instances, I prefer not to go with sure, but that's just my opinion. You know, another opinion that I have that I think I don't share with some people for some reason. So I had a guy that told me I couldn't come over to his house anymore if I was to tell him that his house smelled like dog shit. Wouldn't you want to know? Aren't I supposed to tell you if I come over to your house and it smells like dog shit? Do you want me to be like, dude, it smells great in here? I guess ideally what people want, I think my theory is that you want me to say nothing, right? He literally said, you can't come over to my house ever again if you say that ever again. And I was like, because I had said it multiple times. So there was multiple times that I was at his house. I don't even think I think I was still living with my mom at the time. So like it was a long time ago, but here recently, I had a recent experience that was similar, and I was just thinking, like, people get so sensitive about that. They get like, here's another reason. Like, okay, for instance, before I like pop this zit on my face, if I have a gigantic whitehead on my cheek and I haven't looked in the mirror all day long, and then I come back and I've been in front of 5 people and none of them were like, dude, you have a gigantic whitehead on your face, you should pop that. You should do, hey, there's a gigantic pus fucking explosion about to come out of your head, and you should check that out. Have you seen that? Because like obviously I haven't. Obviously I would have taken care of it. Obviously I would have gotten rid of it. But I just think people are supposed to tell you those things. So like for instance, if I go into your house and I tell you it smells like dog shit, I feel like that's because it smells like dog shit. Like maybe this isn't everybody. I feel like if you are not an avid cleaner, if you don't work your butt off to keep your house extremely maintained, and you have 3 dogs or even more than 1 dog, probably, it's going to smell. I mean, like, I'm sorry, because like 1, you have to be bathing and cleaning and maintaining your dogs, and then 2, bathing and maintaining and cleaning your house. And obviously it's not the exact same words typically, but the idea is if you have a lot of dogs, you're going to have a lot of dog hair in most instances. I know that they say that dogs don't shed, and people are like, dude, I hate you so much, because obviously you don't have a dog in your house, and I rent, so no matter what, I couldn't have one. I know Breck would love one, but I know he wouldn't take care of it, so it would basically be my dog. So until I'm ready to have a dog and then also be in a place that I can have a dog, we just don't right now. It's not a good idea, so I won't. But I just think if I was to walk into your house and it smelled terrible, I should tell you. And obviously, again, I don't share that with most people. And you should just tell me what you think. If you walk into your friend's house and they have 3 dogs and it smells terrible, do you just say, hey man, how's it going? Can I have a beer? You just walk in and have a normal time? Or do you like, hey dude, your house smells like dog shit. You should really clean it up. Do you have any money? You should have somebody come in here and professionally clean your home because it smells like dog shit in here. You should also have somebody come and professionally clean your dogs because they smell terrible. I mean, am I crazy? Is that rude? Is that silly? Because again, this was a long time ago, but I even had somebody, and that's where I was like, I guess people do get sensitive about that. And maybe I should have learned my lesson a long time ago, but I would like to know. So I guess that's just, if you're ever next to me and I have a gigantic zit on my face, I just want you to tell me. I just want to be like, dude, you should go pop that huge zit on your face. You know what? I started to stutter because I was thinking sometimes I do bad because like I make it all red. Like I push in the wrong spots for some reason. And then it just like gets all disgusting. But it's almost better if like somebody knows what they're doing and they can pop it, because I'm terrible at it. But they just make these huge red marks on my face after, which is awful. But I gotta go use the restroom, make sure I don't have any zits on my face. I'll be right back. I'm back. I was actually just kidding. Honestly, I'm vain as shit, but I was not going to check my zits. I actually just had to go take a pee, and then I ate cheese. But I have those like snack cheeses. I steal my son's food all the time. I guess that's funny, like the stuff that he'll actually eat. Sometimes it's really easy just to steal it out of the fridge. So I stole a cheese, and I just actually had to run to the bathroom. But you know what I was thinking? My son. I don't think he was born yet. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. No, I don't think he was. No, he definitely wasn't. Okay, so it was much before my son was born. And I was with my son's mother. And my question is, do you prefer to stay in a hotel, or do you stay in like somebody's house or something like that? Because like anytime, almost ever, I know it's a bad idea. I just know if you're inviting me over to your house, it's a terrible idea. I should just get my own place. I should work it out myself. I'll be comfortable. By the time I'm comfortable, I'll come over, I'll meet with you. And then if I need to leave or want to leave at any time, I'll just leave at that point, and then I don't need to hang out with you anymore. And so I hate when people try to like invite you over and have them stay over, because there's just no way I'm doing that. But like one time I was with my son's mother, and she just was like, she said we had to. And the weird thing was we actually worked for hotels at the time. So for instance, we got a pretty good discount. Like at the time we could have got like a $40 room at a hotel nearby, like a Holiday Inn nearby. So, most people are like, Holiday Inns are pieces of trash. So that's probably why, you fucking piece of trailer trash. But no, my point is that's normally better than just like staying at somebody's house. What they had to stay on was a air mattress in the living room. So we just had an air mattress right there in the middle of everything, and the air mattress did not stay pumped up. So for instance, much earlier than you would expect, very early into the night, I had my ass actually touching the ground. So worst sleep ever. I actually ended up getting a cold. And then I asked the guy there, it was like my son's mother's boyfriend. I asked him to get me some cold medicine when he was running into town, because they live like in Hickville in the middle of nowhere. And so he went to the store, and I didn't realize, I told him exactly what to get, but he said they didn't have it. So he got me some nighttime medicine, and I didn't realize it was nighttime medicine. So I loaded up with like some nighttime medicine, and of course got extremely sleepy and just like absolutely groggy. And we were like there to like go to some like party or something like that. But my thought is just like, I don't even think that would have happened if I'd actually been getting good sleep and not sleeping on an air mattress that wasn't even pumped up in the middle of their floor. And not to mention, it was like freezing. Dude, I remember they gave us a hard time. They had, you've probably seen those big, like, I think they're like 5 gallons. They look like 5 gallons. Maybe you'd say 10 gallons, but I don't think they're quite that big. But those like 5-gallon jugs of water, typically they're like upside down in like office places. They have like a cold and a hot, right? And you can put it in a little Dixie cup on the side of it or whatever that is. They had one of those, right? And so I was just like, they said that's the only place you're supposed to get your water. You're not supposed to get your water out of the faucet. I guess for some reason the potable water there is just not good. So they're like, you're not supposed to drink the potable water here, because again, it was in the middle of nowhere. And this was a long time ago. And so I was like, okay, I'm drinking their water. We finished like they had like a, this is a partially full one of those like 5 or 10 gallon. I think it's 5 gallon, but whatever it is, the ones that go upside down in the office, whatever. We finished like this partially finished one. Like that was all the water for everybody for the whole weekend. So they invited people over. They invited family members over. It was me, my son's mother, and she had another kid at the time. So like we came with this kid, and then they had a house full of family, and then they even invited other people over the time. So like they had like a cookie decorating party because it was like during the Christmas period of time. And so for instance, the amount of water that was in that whole 5-gallon thing, that tiny bit that was in there, was meant for all those people for all that time. And this is just what I'm saying, like these little things. Like, one, you're not allowed to drink any water. You're not allowed to sleep in a comfortable bed. Their only heat source was a fireplace, and there was like 9 inches of snow on the ground. I remember when we left, it was literally insane. I'd never driven in so much snow. I even got a flat tire. It was the worst, and I was just like, there's no way I'm driving in this much snow on a spare. And I probably made the right decision, but that meant that this like terrible trip that we had ended in like us sitting in a Walmart, because it was right next to a Walmart that we broke down, and so at least we could get like our tire repaired. But of course, no, I shouldn't say of course. For some reason, they weren't prepared for that particular removal and replacement, and so it ended up taking a really long time for some reason. And so we're just sitting there like miserable. I shouldn't say I was miserable, because it was just like the longest, craziest trip. And I honestly think it never had to be that way. It never had to be like where because like I said, I think if you just stay in a hotel, you sleep in a bed, you make sure you eat some food, you're able to drink as much water as you would like, maybe you have some coffee, then you go meet with people that you're visiting with, then you have the opportunity to leave at any time. It just seems like that's a little bit better to me, and then go to your own place where you have a place to sleep, rather than just sleeping on somebody's floor on an air mattress. Like, I don't get the benefit of that. And I've seen people that are like, no, man, I like to stay with somebody when I go anywhere. But we've never like been like, oh man, I'm going to travel based on where people are. But I'm probably just a piece of shit, and that's probably what everybody does. But I don't know. The other day my son ended up getting that surgery, and I don't know if I've talked about it, but my son had a dental thing. Basically, he found that he had a lot of cavities, and so we had to get some caps on his teeth and to get some fillings and all that kind of stuff. But when I saw him come out of that, it was just the most miserable thing ever. And I guess I just mentioned it because I thought about it so much here recently. Like, for some reason, I just think about his head. Like, he was just literally, right when he got out and he was woken up, he still hadn't really come to, because you know how you're pretty much still completely fucked up. And so he was just, his eyes didn't look right, and he literally had deep red blood coming out of his mouth. And I just hated it, man. I absolutely hated to see it. Like, he crawled up on me, like I was sitting there on this little bench that they sat there to like kind of debrief us after the appointment. But I just keep thinking about it. He crawled up on my arms, and just like he sat there, and I was just able to hug him tight. But I hate to see your kid like that. I absolutely did not like to see that. It was one of those things I hope I never have to see again. I just hope everybody brushes their teeth and their kids brush their teeth, and my kid in particular continues to brush his teeth. And it just, for goodness sake, I couldn't believe, after having him go out, and I talked about it before, but basically they have this thing where they call like the jitters, where, right before they go out, they like lose their, just completely, it's like you almost like want to fight it. Like, basically a kid like still tries to fight it right before they go out, and they just call it the jitters. But then he wakes up, and I don't know, I just hate to see him like that. I absolutely can't stand that. It's just crazy, like how much it has stuck with me. And it's just one of those things where, I guess I didn't really think like for instance, the doctor mentioned, he was like, you guys probably had this on your calendar for a long time. And it's like, yeah, we did have it on our calendar for a long time, but I guess I didn't think I was going to be thinking about it. I didn't think I was going to have memories burned into my head from that surgery and seeing him in that altered state. And it's just not something I thought I'd think about so much. And I don't know, I'm just wondering why that's on my mind so much. I just, you hate to see your kid like that. But I don't know. Another thing I was thinking about is deep cleaning. Like, I literally don't feel like a human. I am not happy with my life. I will either be mean to myself or be mean to other people, not like in some fucking weird way. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Well, right after I said that, I was like, being mean to myself sounds like, like cut myself or something, and I don't mean to make any comment about that. I'm just saying I wouldn't do that. So just wanted to be super clear when I say be mean to myself. I would probably be like, I don't know, probably destructive in my diet and eat something that I shouldn't, like pack my face full of pretzels or something like that, just something that I absolutely shouldn't do. And why was I talking about that? I don't remember. I don't remember at all. Oh, I was just wondering, like, why does it bother me so much if I don't deep clean? Like, I literally have to deep clean like probably every 7 days, like at least once a week. Like if there's 7 days that go by and I don't move everything in my house, clean behind it and set it back. And sometimes you could come in and like there'd be something on like the ceiling, and I just don't understand. Like the dirtiest people that I've ever met in my entire life will like come into your house when it's like literally completely spotless and be like, you have something on your ceiling. What's that on your ceiling up there? I've had people like where you for instance, I don't want to be too specific. Yeah, there's been people that like were the dirtiest people that I've ever lived with ever, and like then their big thing is like they need to keep the top of the honey clean. Like the top of the honey is the cleanest that anybody has ever had, and so for instance, if you leave any speck of sticky on the top of the honey, they're gonna let everybody know how much of a piece of shit you are. But it's so silly. It's a dumb memory, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think like people. It seems like the people that don't clean will find the flaw in what you've done, and that's probably just my insecurity of like I said, I miss the ceiling sometimes, and there's sometimes where like dust will build up on your ceiling, and you just don't necessarily get it as often. But I don't know. I just wonder if anybody else, and it's probably like an OCD thing. It's probably more one of those things that I've just developed because I was thinking back, and I think it's like so my parents sent me in 8th grade to this like camp. Basically, I've always tried to describe it to people like it was like holes, but we never dug holes. And really, after I thought back about it, the only similarity was really that we went in the middle of nowhere. Like for instance, we were out just in the desert where there was nothing nearby. Even the closest town was like 400 to 500 people, and it was literally like where they had a sign in there that said like from 1806 to 1906, or they'd only gained like 100 people or whatever it was. So it's always been this super podunk town in the middle of nowhere in Utah. But my parents sent me to this camp out there, and the website like shows people working with horses and working with cattle and working with sheep and all this stuff, and we did do that, but not all the time. And it wasn't like, I mean, we did it often enough, I guess, like we rode through the mountains and had to like drive sheep. Like for instance, most of the work was actually done by Peruvians and their dogs though. So they had like Peruvians that literally just lived up in the forest and had like, horses and camped, and that was their whole life. And then they had ones that were back at the camp, or excuse me, not at the camp, but at the place that we lived. But yeah, just a bunch of Peruvians that basically worked up in the mountains. And so anyway, they would have us go on the sheep drive, basically ride with them. But really all that means is you're like camping out in the wilderness and then like riding horses and packing horses full of stuff. And if you've never seen that, it's just where they have like these like crosses on the tops of the horses, and then all of your stuff has like a hook on it. So if you have a pan, your pan has a hook on the side of it, and then that hook hangs on those crosses on the top of the horse. So you know what I mean? Point being, we did get to do those things, but I don't know. Oh, I was like, why in the fuck am I talking about this? But one thing that we also did is they like basically wouldn't allow us to enjoy the weekend until we got everything cleaned. So like until everything was perfectly spotless, and like especially if we had done it right. So like even they would come around after that and they would inspect everything. So like one time even, for instance, I had something in my bath bag. And I've heard people talk about it a million times, but I have been so probably much considered. I was going to say I've been an addict of many things, many different times. And I was going to say I've probably been considered an addict, but because I have been. And so that's the only reason why I say that. But I have never in my life ever, and I almost have always had mouthwash, never ever considered drinking mouthwash, but apparently it's like a thing. So I was thinking like even one time when I was there, I did get in trouble because I had like mouthwash in my thing, my like bath bag, and you're not supposed to have that because it's got alcohol in it. But I just can't imagine, like, can you ever imagine being so down and out that you would drink mouthwash to get the alcohol out of it? Because I have been, really, I feel like I've been gripped by alcoholism before, and I've never had the fucking urge to drink mouthwash. Like, never in my life. It's just never crossed my mind. I would never do that. Like, I can't even imagine that. I don't know. It just seems... this is the face, I guess, yeah, this face I make when I'm grossed out. That's all. I don't even know why I was mentioning that. I guess I was just mentioning that because of cleaning stuff, but I don't know. Another thing I was thinking about is, like, I think it was really weird that, or I was wondering if it was weird, and that's why I was like, maybe other people can shed their light on that, because everybody's pretty much gone through that. At one time or another, you probably, like everybody basically at one time or another lost their V card is the dumbest way to say it, but that's what people always used to say. God, that feels terrible. I don't know another way to say it. It just, I guess, yeah, it doesn't matter. What I was thinking is, I had planned mine, and I don't think a lot of people do that. I wondered if that was weird. Like, I'd be curious to see if anybody has any stories about that where, like, they're like, no, dude, that's not how it happens. It's supposed to be spontaneous. Or, like, if other people did that same thing, because, like, I had been talking to this girl for like a long period of time, right? And then, like, for some reason it had came up, right? And she was like, actually in a relationship at the time. And you're like, dude, you were a teenage boy. There's a good reason why it came up. You probably fucking asked her. I can't remember, but it was a long time ago. So anyway, point B, she was like, you're going to remember this for the rest of your life. I don't know why I was thinking about this. Jeez Louise. She was just like, you're going to remember this for the rest of your life. And I guess the odd thing I think about is, like, that was, 20 something years ago. And I do still remember that. Like, I guess you always do kind of remember that person. But almost weird, like, I guess that maybe I planned it, or I just wonder if there was anything weird about that where, like, you hear, like, most people's story and they're like, yeah, it was, like, super spontaneous and not as good as it should have been. But I had the opportunity to, like, I don't know, completely set mine up, and it really worked out well. And I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things where you realize, like, everybody's gone through that. Like, everybody's got that story. They have a story where they, whether it worked out the way they wanted it to, or it worked out, maybe not the way they wanted it to. I don't know. I was just thinking about that. Kind of a weird thing, right? I don't know. Now I'm judging it. It's okay. It doesn't really matter. Do you ever think about, like, the people you saw from that time? Do you ever think about, like, for instance, I'll get on, like, Instagram, and I very rarely get on Facebook anymore, but, like, I'll get on Instagram and I will look at these people that, like, I went to school with, and you're like, she's with a fat guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's a fat guy. You know what I mean? You're just like, holy shit. I just can't believe it. It's like some people really, I don't know. They just really, really, really seem to fall off. And then you kind of, like, see their choices and stuff. And you're just like, I mean, anybody would probably look at me and be like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. And I guess it's easy to judge other people, but I don't know. It just seems like almost anybody that I look back on and I, like, look up, I'm like, God, everybody's gotten so big. You know what I mean? Like, I probably have a bigger face, but, like, everybody's just got, they're like big old faces and they're big people. And I don't know. Am I the only one? Am I the only one that's seen that? Like, it just seems like you look at people and you're like, wow, everybody is just really, I don't know. Everybody, it seems like again, I said it before, the hot excuse seems to be pandemic. It's March 2020. It seems like you just hear that everywhere. That's what everybody's got for their why. I don't think it counts. I don't think it's a good reason. I don't think it's good enough. Sometimes I trick myself. Sometimes I, like, I don't know. My thought is, like, I try to be pretty healthy. It seems like the easiest thing to do. Sometimes I'll trick myself. I mean, sometimes I think, like, I guess a good example would be like with tuna. So, like, for instance, I'll mix, like, all this mayonnaise, and I know I said I wouldn't do it, but, like, I had this episode where, like, I mentioned it, and I was talking about how gross it was and talking about how much I had, and now I pretty much just can't stop eating it. I've just been eating so much of it, but it's totally like a trick. Like, it's like when I put all the mayonnaise in there and I eat it with butter crackers, there's no way that whatever benefit I could possibly be getting from the tuna is any good for me at that point. Like, there's no way that it's a trick, right? Like, I'm tricking myself and telling myself, well, you're getting benefits from the tuna and whatever the fish is providing, and omega-3s and all these things. But whatever that is totally countered out by the amount of mayonnaise I eat it with, and the fact that I'm eating it with butter crackers, like the amount of inflammation that the butter crackers is probably causing could do any sort of damage, and then the amount of fat that I'm ingesting with that mayonnaise. Some fat's good. I mean, I imagine some fat you definitely need, but I just feel like I trick myself too often with my diet, and I don't know. It just seems like it really put me in the mood for tuna. I'm trying to stay away from it now. That really gives me bad breath. I can totally understand the term dad breath. Like when people have, they're like, dude, there's like dad breath. Like I am 100% that. I almost try to brush my teeth like every time after I do it, because it is just the worst stinking thing. Literally, if I know I'm going to go somewhere, I won't even do it. I don't think you're allowed to. I think if you know you're going to go speak with people, and I guess most of the time now you have to wear a mask if you're going to go speak with people, so it's actually you that's going to mostly have to suffer depending on where you're at. But I just try not to do it if I'm going to go speak with people. But I think that dad breath is more like most people just don't. I think they just keep their mouths shut for too long. You know what I mean? So it's almost like there's just not enough ventilation getting in there. Like I think for me, of course, in those instances, though it may be like fish or tuna that I've recently eaten with so much fat on it that it's going to kill me. I think most people just don't. They don't open their mouths often enough. I just think that they have like a partner or somebody around them that's just creating this fabricated reality, and so they're just like at a point where they realize that if they say anything, that it's probably going to work out more to their detriment than to help them. So they just keep their mouths shut, and I think that's what most dad breath is from. I think guys just don't get enough oxygen. They're just sitting there breathing through their nose, just perfect breeding ground. That's my thought. Mine is from fish, but I don't know. I wonder what, like, another thing I was thinking about is like what's the worst way that you've ever had to dump somebody, or like what's the worst way that you've ever dumped somebody? I was thinking for me, I definitely think it was like I did it via letter, which is like, what is it, 1880s? Like what the fuck is wrong with you? Like for some reason I had given this gal a letter, and I heard from women after that, like, because I didn't really hang out with her a lot after that, but like one of her friends hung out with our group for like a period of time after that, and she always said it was like the meanest thing that she'd ever read in her entire life. But that was probably mine. I think one of the worst things I ever did was break up with somebody via letter, and I don't even think you can even really call that like breakup, I guess, in that sense, because you're just like, it's like in whatever, I want to say grade school, but it was definitely high school. And so I guess my point is, it's not like it counts in any way, right? I mean, you're just like a young kid, and any of your relationships are not necessarily important, is my thought. But I don't know. I was just wondering if anybody has any good story about how you broke up with somebody. You should leave it in the comments or say something. Just send it over, and we'll share it. But I think that a lot of people, I think the term that I always hear, obviously, is like ghosting. I think it's overused. I think they got to find a different term, and I get it. It's like the thing. It's like what most people do. They just don't want to talk to you anymore, so they just move on. I'm not talking about my life at all. I have literally no time for that. It's crazy how little time I have for that. It's probably not good for me, actually. I really should probably dedicate some more time to that if I was smart or thinking about my future. But just being a dad and working and doing this, and everything that I do is just definitely keeping me busy enough where there's no possible way I have any time for that. But I don't know. I was just thinking about, like, if anybody has any story about what the worst way they've ever broken up with somebody. It's weird. I think, it's just one of those things where I guess you think like you're only as sick as the secrets you keep. And I know I've said that before. I got it from Whitney. But you're only sick as the secrets you keep. And that's one of those things that I guess if after all these years I'm still thinking about, it's probably like it's got to be bothering me somehow, right? Knowing that I did that. I think, but after you think about it, it's like I think you're not the only one. Somebody else is probably. And like I said, it seems like the most people now are they just ghost people. Like, you just block them and then stop talking to them. I had a gal one time tell me, she was like, never talk to me again. And then she blocked me. But then, like, months later, she like unblocked me. I noticed, just because like all of a sudden it was like she was recommended as a person. And so it's like you almost realize like, oh, I didn't realize that I wasn't your friend anymore, or like wasn't following you anymore. But then like it'll show you like, oh, this person is a recommendation. So I guess maybe it just means that they unfriended you, not necessarily. My thought is like I was blocked, and then like when I came unblocked, it was like an option for me to be like, you know what I mean? Like, you may know this person. It's like, yeah, I do know that person, but I don't know. It seems like, yeah, everybody's probably got a story. That's one of those things. Another one of those things that's become super popular. Not that breakup stories are necessarily popular. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But it seems like fitness trackers are super popular. And I don't know why, but I just felt super pretentious wearing one. It seems like I can be super, like I use my hands a lot sometimes, right? And I only, of course, did it that time to as a fucking prop, I guess, like a loser. But I use my hands, and so anytime it seemed like that I was like using my hands, it felt like I was like showing off my fitness tracker. So that was like one reason where I was like, I don't know why. I don't wear watches for that same reason. Like, even if I have a really nice watch that I like, anytime that I move my arm, I swear it feels like I'm trying to show off my watch, which is totally not true. Obviously, I'm just using my hand, but I don't know why I can barely wear them. But another thing I noticed is like they never seem to, and I'd be curious to see if anybody has any recommendations. The ones that I saw or that I had particularly tried and used, they didn't actually keep up. So like, for instance, I was trying to watch my heart rate like exactly during my workout, and then when, like, for instance, I knew that my heart rate had gone back down, I would start again. And so I was like really trying to watch it exactly, but it took so long to catch back up, and it was never in real time data. And there was like times where I stayed up, like there was periods of times where, for instance, it would tell me like, it's your 56% today. So if it tells me I'm 56%, does that help me with my day? If I wake up and my app tells me you're 56% today, and I still have the exact same amount of list of stuff to do, how in the fuck does that help me? How does it help me to know, hey, I still have all the exact same amount of things that I have to do, but I'm 56%? And then there'd be periods of times where like literally I wouldn't sleep because it was like a long time ago, and I was like working through the night. And so like I would work through the night, and then it would say like, you slept 4 hours last night. And then so I'm just thinking like, at what point? So it takes maybe the amount of time that I moved the least or whatever it was, and then it mistakes that for sleep. And so it tells me like, you're 31% today, and it's like in the red, and you're just like, my point is I was never satisfied with the accuracy of it. And it just seems like, if one, I'm so self-conscious of having it on my wrist that every time I move my fucking arm, I'm worried about whether or not people are going to be considering that I'm trying to show it off. And two, it's not even accurate enough to give me any of the information I want. Or three, the information that it provides me doesn't help me. Like, it doesn't, if I have to do the exact same stuff no matter what, and it like, the whole thing that I took from it was I need to sleep more, which I already knew. Like, that's like clearly the most important thing. It's crazy how hard it is to get sleep. It's crazy how hard it is to make sure you get enough sleep, but you just have to schedule the time. And then like, I don't know, even with my son, I know I've talked about it before, but we just have to have like a wind down time, and we have to set it up in advance, and we just have to stick to a schedule. And it just seems like sticking to a schedule and making sure that I'm getting enough sleep is definitely one of the most important things that I can do. But it is also so hard. It's so hard to make sure that you fit in enough sleep. It's crazy. You're like, dude, yeah, we can tell your eyes are ridiculous. The amount of eye bags that you have is absolutely insane. It's unacceptable. No, I'm just kidding. But those fitness trackers, I don't know. Sometimes I just, I feel the same way about watches. I don't know. I like to wear a watch, but And then also it's like, that, even like, for instance, what's that guy on like Shark Tank, and he's got so many watches. So it's like, that no matter what, like, then there's these people that at the very highest level, like, you're never going to have the top status, right? You're never going to have the status of the most watches. You're never going to have the status of the best watches. So it's like, I don't know why. I don't know. I'm not trying to be like Ricky Bobby about it, where it's like, if you're not first, you're last, where it's like, if I know I can't win, I'm never going to play. I'm like, no, it's not that cool. But that's probably it. It's probably just because I know that I can never compete with these people that like care so much about watches. But I don't know. I only thought about that because the fitness trackers thing, and if they're not going to give me the information that I need, and that information doesn't help me, I don't see what the point is. But they are a fucking rage right now. Everybody's got fitness trackers on. People that I'm like, you do not look like you need a fitness tracker. Not that it matters. Everybody should wear a fitness tracker. I'm a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be so judgmental. I'm gonna go check myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be right back. I'm back. I just had to go check on my son. You know what else I was curious about? Does anybody else get a ridiculous amount of satisfaction when somebody says God bless you? It's so dumb. I don't even understand it. But for some reason, anytime anybody says God bless you, I feel so elated inside. I get so excited, and there is no good reason for that. I've even noticed in the past, because it's one of those things that, like, have you ever noticed that like homeless people do it to you? If you don't give them money, they'll typically say, well, and if you do give them money, they'll typically say God bless you, because one, it makes you feel like absolute shit if you don't give them money. But like, if something good happened and somebody says that, it seems like it makes me feel so good inside, and I don't even understand why. I was just walking out of a store, and a gal was like, God bless you. And I was like, thank you. It's like, thank you so much. I can't believe how good that makes me feel. Like, I have no idea why. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, is that normal? Are you supposed to? I must be. People would be like, you are a simple man. You are a very simple man. It's so easy to please you. And that may or may not be true, but I just can't believe how much when somebody says something like that, how it can affect you. I guess it would, I don't know why, because it's not like a lot of things. Like I said, I'm just going to say less actually would probably be easier. It's all good. Another thing I was thinking about. How close do you go to the speed limit, right? Because like there's been times like when I drove company vehicles that if it says 35, I'm going to set it on 33, because I just absolutely never ever want to get pulled over driving on a company vehicle. It's been so long since I've had to deal with that. And the guy that literally before they even allowed me to drive by myself, he would have me drive his truck. His comment was, wow, you drive perfect. Because that was my whole goal. I was like, I'm going to drive fucking ridiculously careful in a company truck, because it just seems like the best way to do it. Otherwise you're going to get in trouble, because they have like, they just have much higher insurance. But it's been a really long time since I've had to do that. But other than that, I'm going to go like 4 or 5 over. And I just think that's pretty standard. But it just seems like so often I'll be going like 35 miles an hour, and I have somebody behind me that wants to go like 45 miles an hour. And it's like, obviously if you get 2 tickets, you're going to either have one. I don't know. When I was younger and I got very few tickets, it seemed like I lost my license like immediately. So I just don't understand how somebody can drive around going 50 miles an hour all the time and not have to worry about it. But my thought is at least after like 2 tickets. But I was just curious, like I've met people that also say like, if it's 30, clearly the idea is the limit means the highest. So like the highest you should go. My dad, as an example, he thinks it's 8. So like he's like, they're not going to pull you over if you're not going more than 8. That's what he thinks. Because he thinks if it's like 9, 10, he's like, that's really easy to get you. They can actually, I'm pretty sure it's like they have like 4 to 9, 4 to 6. Like they have. And some cop could probably shed some light on that, but I'm pretty sure they have like small windows that they can pull you over for if they really want to. It's just a matter of what's worth their time. Like they get to file paperwork on all that stuff. They're the ones that get to sit there and like file a report on the fact that they pulled you over going 4 over. So my guess is they certainly have the jurisdiction to do so. They just don't. But again, my dad thinks it's 8 miles an hour. He thinks you can go 8 miles an hour. So if it says 35, you can safely go 43. I'm so worried. That's so sad. I literally had to double check my math. I was like, is my math correct there? But I think on the highway I can get that, right? So if it's like 75, go 83 and you're safe. But I personally, I'm like 4 or 5. Like I said, like if it's 35 and I set it on 40, I feel like I was gonna say burning dirty, but that's so stupid. It's just so stupid. But that's what was in my mind. And so as I try to, why pretend and try to come up with something else? Because that's what we're. Yep. It's riding dirty. It's not even burning dirty. It's riding dirty. I'm so dumb. I don't even know what I was talking about. I literally tried to think back about a song and I quoted it completely wrong. Oh, that's probably better. It's probably better. Well, on that note, since I can't even think of riding dirty, and instead I came up with burning dirty, which it actually does have some. It does make sense in some ways, but you guys, I appreciate you tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you again, and I will talk to you soon, and I love you, and bye-bye.